Hello, and welcome to Employment Law Training for Managers. My name is Carrie Svendsen, and I will be conducting today's training. Today's agenda will be covering many different employment laws, and in no way do we expect you to memorize all of this information. Your HR department is always available to assist you with any questions and concerns you may have. As a frontline manager and representative of the organization, it is important that you have a basic understanding of employment law and your responsibilities to help protect the company against any lawsuits that could arise from activity that would be considered illegal. The company has a responsibility to create a safe place to work that is free from harassment and discrimination for all employees. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. The agenda, as you see it, will be covering Fair Labor Standards Act, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Equal Pay Act, Age Discrimination and Employment Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, Pregnancy Discrimination Act, the Sexual Harassment Unlawful Harassment, National Labor Relations Act, Occupational Safety and Health Act, Workers' Compensation, Family Medical Leave Act, and the Affordable Care Act. We'll start with the Fair Labor Standards Act, also referred to as FLSA. It governs the hours employees are paid, minimum wage, and overtime. Employees must be paid for time in training and any time spent on call. You are not required to pay employees for meals or meal time so long as employees have more than 20 minutes of uninterrupted time. Currently, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour for all hours worked, and in the state of Nebraska, it is $9 an hour. Employees must be paid time and a half for any hours worked over 40 in a work week, and exempt employees do not have to be compensated for hours over 40. It is the responsibility of the supervisor to ensure that all time worked is recorded accurately for all employees who report to you. Employees are not allowed to work off the clock. The HR department requires you to discuss any changes to employees' job duties prior to making any changes. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, also called CRA, prohibits discrimination in the workplace. It protects individuals against discrimination based on race, gender, religion, color, and national origin. Harassment of individuals in all protected classes is strictly forbidden. You are responsible as a supervisor to ensure the fair treatment of all employees, applicants, and customers, and to ensure employees are not harassed based on these protected classes. Supervisors will make no decisions on hiring, pay, promotions, training programs, and layoffs or firings based on these protected classes. The Equal Pay Act, also referred to as EPA, addresses equal pay for equal work for all employees, regardless of their gender. Both women and men must be paid equally for substantially equal work, skill, working conditions, and the same levels of responsibility. Supervisors are responsible for making sure all employees, regardless of gender, are treated equally and fairly in regards to pay. It is your responsibility to keep HR abreast of all complaints and if you are aware of any pay differences that need to be reviewed. Age Discrimination and Employment Act, ADEA. It is illegal to discriminate against individuals who are 40 and older in all employment practices. These include, but are not limited to, decisions on hiring, promotions, pay, job assignments, training, and firing or layoffs. It is also illegal to harass or make offensive remarks about a person's age. The law doesn't prohibit simple teasing, but harassment is illegal when it becomes so frequent and severe that it causes a hostile workplace. As a supervisor, it is your responsibility to create a workplace that is free from harassment. You are also responsible for making no employment decisions based on a person's age. Any reports of discrimination must be reported to the HR department. Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. The Americans with Disabilities Act, also called ADA, protects individuals with disabilities. A disability is defined as a physical or mental condition which limits a person's major life activity. For example, walking, learning, hearing, talking. It is illegal for employers to make employment decisions based on a person's disability. This would include hiring, promotions, pay, job assignments, training, and firings or layoffs. It is also illegal for anyone to harass or allow the harassment of someone who has a disability. Employers are required to provide persons with a disability a reasonable accommodation if it does not cause an undue hardship. All requests for a reasonable accommodation must be turned into the HR department. Supervisors are expected to assist in decisions regarding any modifications that need to be made to assist a person with a disability do the essential functions of their job. And this does apply to applicants. All complaints of harassment or discrimination must also be reported to the HR department. Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, also referred to as PDA. Women cannot be discriminated against in the hiring process as long as she can perform the essential functions of the job at the time of hire. It is illegal to discriminate in all employment practices, and again, these are hiring, promotions, pay, job assignments, training, layoffs, or firings. So long as the pregnant woman can do the essential functions of the job. You cannot require a pregnant woman to take a less hazardous job because she is pregnant. Contact your HR department in regards to any questions with the PDA. Sexual and unlawful harassment. As an organization, we take harassment very seriously. All reports of harassment must be reported to the HR department. The following is a list of examples of sexual and unlawful harassment. Unwanted sexual advances, offering benefits in exchange for sexual favors, becoming threatening after a negative response to a sexual advance, visual and verbal conduct that is offensive, verbal sexual advances or propositions, verbal abuse, physical conduct that is threatening or offensive in nature. All employees deserve to work in a workplace that is free from harassment. Supervisors are expected to create a harmonious environment where employees feel safe. All complaints and concerns should be sent to the Human Resources Department. Investigations will be conducted for all complaints as the company takes these complaints very seriously. The National Labor Relations Act, also called NLRA, protects the rights of employees to collectively bargain. It also protects the rights of both the employee and employer from unfair labor practices. And although we may not be a union shop, we want to always be aware of any union activity. The expectation of a supervisor is if an employee would ask questions about unions, would be to answer with factual information, and supervisors can share their opinion of unions. Supervisors can also offer factual examples of what would happen and what would change when employees decide to vote in a union, so long as it's not a threat. For example, they will have to start paying union dues. Threatening employees with a facility shutdown is an unfair labor practice. Supervisors cannot interfere with employees in the exercise of their rights to form a union. Employers are required to bargain in good faith with employees and union representatives. Supervisors must report any activity of unionization to the HR department. The Occupational Safety and Health Act, also called OSHA, states that the company has a general duty to protect its employees from workplace hazards. This duty includes providing the necessary safety equipment and training on how to use the equipment safely. All OSHA required postings should be displayed in a highly visible place. These postings let employees know what their rights are and how to file a complaint. It is the supervisor's responsibility to ensure that employees have the necessary safety equipment and training and how to use that equipment correctly. Workers' compensation. Supervisors' employees must report all injuries and illnesses to HR and complete the necessary first report of injury within 48 hours. In Nebraska, the employee has the right to choose their treating physician. If they do not have a current doctor, then the employee should be sent to the authorized urgent care clinic. Employees who have lost time will be compensated and medical bills will be paid. All information should be sent to the HR department. It is the responsibility of the supervisor to make sure all paperwork is complete and accurate. The Family Medical Leave Act, also called FMLA, provides protection to qualifying employees who are eligible with 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave for the following reasons: birth or adoption of a child, serious health condition that prevents the employee from working, to care for a spouse, child, or parent with a serious health condition. Supervisors are required to report all absences of 3 days or more to the HR department so a determination can be made and all paperwork sent to the employee. Qualifying military and their families can also receive up to 26 weeks of unpaid leave. And finally, the Affordable Care Act, ACA. The Affordable Care Act requires employers to offer health care to all employees who are working an average of 30 hours or more per week. Managers will be required to monitor their part-time employees' hours to ensure that no part-time employee is working over 30 hours a week on average. Dependent children can remain on their parents' health care plan until their 26th birthday. Preventative services are now covered at 100%. Employers are required to report healthcare coverage and cost yearly to the IRS. Any questions? If there are no questions, this concludes today's training. Thank you for your attendance. We've also included on this slide the references to the information that has been included in this presentation.